Welcome back to Digiburst, guys. Today I've got a third place Ultimate Cup for July. Who came third place? I did. Crazy, huh? It was actually kind of crazy how I actually got to this point, considering that I've gone from 48th in Nationals to 27th last Ultimate Cup. Now to third place. It's all the way going up. And I couldn't have done it without my friend Izzy here, who has coached me in preparation for Ultimate Cup July. Izzy, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Izzy Cruz, aka Straw Hat Izzy if you watch me on YouTube, or the Izzy Cruz if you follow me on Twitch and you watch me play there. I'm a pretty decorated Digimon player and a coach for the Digimon trading card game for anyone that needs one. And I've gone and done that with my friend Digiburst and helped him get to the success that he found in this tournament.
Yes, I find incredible value in his teachings. Very excellent player, very good at guiding people. I think you have a lot of good lessons you can teach people, which is hard for people to do. Like even if they're top players, it's hard to translate that into lessons. So I think you do that pretty well.
I do my best.
So I'm just going to start with the deck profile, and then we're going to go to matchups and all that stuff. So, I should probably start with the eggs. Eggoos. I am of course playing blue hybrid, so we have the 4 Kyaremon and 1 Upamon. Kyaremon being the best one because getting the draw before you have to commit to attack can be very important because it might alter your plays once you see that draw. And also because stripping is pretty easy to come by in this deck. But that stuff's all pretty well solved, at least in blue hybrid because we've had it around, so we'll move on to the rookies. 4 of this Strabi and 4 of the other Strabi. This is a bit of a diversion from how blue hybrid was run last format. A lot of the time people only play this Strabi and very little of this one. But in this format, we wanted to see Strabis, so searching Strabis, just to have that rookie recursion. Sometimes you want to evo over these Strabis to get that bonus memory and also see drawings, so you can fix your hand. Izzy, what did you think of this particular lineup for Strabi, for double the regular Strabi amounts compared to last formats?
So first off, I'd like to thank Jackson Huang, also known as Clyde, and Hosey for giving us this ratio, because we found in a BT8 format where you didn't need Siakamon that you could play this toolboxy kind of Strabimon lineup, get value after digivolving over it for 2, and then you swing, you gain a memory, so it's basically a 1 cost evo, and you get a draw, and you get to possibly proc your Sorenchos and stuff like that, so it was very good. 3k was strong, and being searchable was also very good.
Because the last format effects that cheapen evolutions were a lot more prevalent. So this took this Yakumon spot, and yeah, just having a rookie that can search a rookie is just super solid, especially when you need to have another rookie to follow up for next time. We also got Modokis. Modokis come up sometimes for the memory boosters, but also for Imperial matchups. Niche times other times, but really good in those specific ways. And then 3 Buku, another searcher. One more than last time, in the last format, or BT7. There's less rookie hate, but also getting the searcher out can be also more important. What do you think of Buku's?
Boko is broken. I think that card's been good since it was allowed in, and I think it continues to be good even in the format that we're currently in. Probably sees maybe a little less play in BT9 because there's a little bit more removal for it, but I think in blue hybrid specifically it's very strong, and as well as green hybrid, but green hybrid wasn't really relevant in the format that you played your Ultimate Cup set.
Yeah, because unfortunately we had EX2 quite late, so green hybrid had not as much showing as it would have in EX2 format. Moving on to hybrids. For Kuma, for Korikaku, these are the only hybrids that we see. BT7 format, we played one additional hybrid, being the one that bounces rookies to hand. Because rookies are less on the field now, we can drop it. And we're not missing it, I don't think, because blue hybrid has a lot of ways to recur these level 4s in the form of Beowulf. So usually you're fine with those 8 hybrids. Single Azulon, still putting in work. Less relevant, but still really good in very specific matchups. Yellow hybrid, for example, if you need to do a really, really big hit because you just stripped them out that much.
I think it was a really good win condition against yellow hybrid specifically.
And you can sort of aggress them before it gets too late in the game, before they can get enough of their resources to where they might have potentially kill you in the next turn. So Zilong, very good for that, but otherwise not very important in other matchups. It did put in work for one particular matchup, for one specific game against yellow hybrid, but otherwise did not come up. Which is a shame, because it looks so beautiful on this map. 3 Davis, knocked this down from 4. 4 Sora, 4 Tommy, and 4 Matt. This is a much wider tamer range than usual. Why do you think we went for extra tamers from this format, from last format?
Well, so the theory was, like, we wanted every turn to be memory efficient. So if our opponent had let's say our turn 1 was play Davis, right? Or our turn 2, they put us to 3, we play Davis, put them to 1. Then they play their Davis in return, or they play their memory tamer in return, that puts us to 3. Okay, now we can play Matt plus Sora and Joe, and that puts them to 3. And we played 2 tamers instead of playing like Tommy plus Sojo, which puts them to 4. So every combination of cards there was perfect memory in a situation where they went to 3, or had some application to be able to choke in combination with other cards that we played. So like, that made it really good, and Matt is just mini Sojo that you didn't mind evolving over, but you really didn't want to evolve over your Sojos. And with Sojo being like the most important card in the deck, and Tommy being able to trigger the Sojos, and then Sojo being able to trigger itself, it was just a nice complement to Matt's, and I think you found that to be pretty good in your matches.
Yeah, I really appreciated the wider tamers and just having more of them, especially because they are mostly uninteractable. And they can definitely lead you up to getting enough memory for next turn to go even wider with tamers, or go for big pushes. It's just like a resource that gets you more resources, which is really nice. It was also really appreciated with the mulligan, so we didn't brick with them as often. And we could afford to have less rookies. Finally, for the options, 4 Hammerspark and 1 Icefall. I think this is just the correct ratio. I didn't miss the 4th Hammerspark. In fact, there was one match where I bricked with 3 Hammersparks, but my deck was just efficient enough to find Stravi's search, get tamers, get a Davis search, where that searching and drawing was enough to fix my hand after these Hammersparks clogged it. So I mulliganed into the Hammersparks, unfortunately. So yeah, I think this is just the correct ratio. I didn't miss the 4th Hammerspark.
Yeah. The cool thing about Matt was, like, it sometimes functioned as a Hammerspark, and the same thing with Strabi, right? Like, they both functioned as a Hammerspark without you actually having to have Hammerspark. Because they just got you that 1 additional memory, and Matt was uninteractable with cards like Madoki. Strabi was, but like, there's situations where it just didn't matter.
2 Innocence Blizzard. Innocence Blizzard was absolutely incredible. I think it was the correct number to have at 2. But it was actually really surprising how great this was in this deck, and compared to how it used to play back in BT7. Simply because the 3 for freezing can just give you a full turn, and that's just really nice. It's just really what the deck needs sometimes. Also, coming in as security can be pretty nuts too. Especially there were times where my opponent had a risky swing and it stripped out their Gatomon. And it's just like, great, you just lost the game now because you just lost your Gatomon. Because they think like, oh, their 8k guy can beat over almost everything except for all. They're along, well, Innocence Blizzard says, you just messed up.
It's also like a really good card in security where like they think they have lethal and then you Innocence Blizzard the board and then they don't have lethal, so that's really interesting.
Yeah. And then the final two cards is the Howlings. One thing I did miss in this deck was the regular blue memory boost. There were times I wish that this was a regular blue memory boost just for me to have additional searches, especially because there were times where I just didn't have a rookie to go into my nursery in like turn 6. But there were games where I used both of my Howling memory boosts because I needed to. So there might be some room somewhere where I can put in a 1 or 2 copies of the blue booster.
I think it'd be for a copy of the Blizzard.
1 copy of Blizzard and just have the one Blizzard?
1 copy of Blizzard. Yep.
But 2 Blizzard felt so good. 2 Blizzard just felt right.
Yeah, but every other card is kind of hard to cut.
Absolutely. Yeah,
unless
this
you
is
go Matt down to 3. You can go Matt down to 3, but I don't really recommend.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's something I'd like to experiment with, but with EX2 literally released today and BT9 are just around the corner, there isn't really much time for me to experiment with it, especially because like now there's no more big tournaments with this deck, or with this format. Especially because you Americans are already ahead of us.
Which is very weird because we're usually behind the whole world.
That's true. Other than that, super satisfying list did get me all the way to 3rd place, losing only to the champion. Very happy with it, and I would maybe experiment with different builds, but other than that, this one did its job very well. We can talk about our matchups. First match, I wrapped that one up pretty easily. It was Yellow Hybrid, but my opponent unfortunately made some very major misplays when they would often suicide their Jet Sylphies into my Beowulfs without tapping their TK Karis to -1k to the Beowulf. So they were just suiciding guys and wasting resources that way rather than beating over them. So I took advantage of that. I'm not going to play their deck for them. And my deck just performed correctly.
Yeah, I think punishing the opponent's misplays is one of the best things you can do in Digimon. Is like, hey, you know what the play is supposed to be, and then when they don't do it, you're just like, oh, that's great. It was very funny too. You were like, yeah, I'm gonna have a really hard time against Yellow Hybrid. I was like, I'm pretty sure you farm Yellow Hybrid if we just, come up with a strategy prior to the tournament.
It's just because Yellow Hybrid is just, I was at that moment the most unfamiliar with that matchup, with it being one of the most prevalent matchups. And it was super prevalent. It was half of my games. Of 8 rounds, I faced 4 Yellow Hybrids, and 3 of them were the very first games. So I faced 3 Yellow Hybrids in a row for the first 3 rounds, each of them progressively getting better, being better players every time. The second match, I just played really well. There were times where he might have not had the best hands going forward. He evoed into Susan quite early in the game. But because he did it while passing turn, I was just able to source strip it. And I found that Susan, by it not having sources and him not being able to remove it so well, that I could just efficiently control the entire board and also set myself up very easily, that I won the next 2 turns. I love it when they drop Susan and then pass turn. That's the scariest part, when they evo into Susan and then they don't pass turn. Then they get 3 hits in.
For sure.
In the third round, this yellow hybrid was the hardest matchup. There was a time where I miscalculated the memory costs for my Zulongs. And I was 1 memory short from hitting for game. So I just put him as low as possible, then gave him like 10 memory to work with. So if they had just 3 hybrids, then they could possibly just take it there. They did some searching and they got their hybrids. But the very, very last check when they were on 2 memory was Hammerspark. That put them to 0 and they didn't have the memory to get in the last punch with the hybrid. And I just wrapped that one up. That was sometimes you just get lucky.
Hammerspark doing with Hammerspark do?
Despite me playing 4 yellow hybrids and me dominating every single one, the yellow hybrid games were the games where I had the least amount of control in. Well, I guess that specific match. And that's why I was so afraid of it. Round 4, I had my first non-yellow hybrid opponent, which was Imperial, I think. Yes, Imperial. This one was very, very simple for me. He often played into my Sora Joes and Mats because he had no other play to do. Especially choking him on 1 because if you choke him on 1, there's very little things they can actually do to do large pushes in Imperial. And so to force him to go to do chip damage to me, and then I just gain resources from them doing chip damage by them either losing sources or giving me tamers or like hitting hammer sparks and stuff. It's just really, really good, and I controlled that very well. Round 5 was Blue Hybrid Mirror. Blue hybrid mirror matches are my favorite kinds of matches. A lot of people say like, oh, that's so cringe, that's so toxic, because like blue hybrid, ill, it's just more toxic. But I think the blue hybrid mirror match is incredibly skillful, and the better player always wins. And I felt like I knew my deck, and I knew how his deck played 100% inside and out, and I completely dominated the entire game. So that was round 6, undefeated all the way through. Usually, in Ultimate Cups or Regionals, 7 rounds is where they end it. So I was expecting that this last round would be the last one. And at that moment, there were 3 undefeated players. So I would have my fingers crossed that I would win the next round, and then the person who got the pair down or the other match would have a loss or draw, so they wouldn't have any more rounds. Anyway, I went against another yellow hybrid again, and this time the deck just sort of played itself. I followed the general correct formula of having the right search cards at the right time to see the next card, the search in the next card, and grab the right card and regain resources and setup. Where the deck sort of just played itself and it just won very simplistically. There was a time where I was able to stun out his board with no sources to get me to 10 memory, and he had 4 sources for security, and I had the 5 hybrids, so I just pushed. And I had to push early because I knew that if I let it go into late game, then he's going to out-resource me. So I just pushed in the early game, and his security was just dead. What do you think of that sort of that take on that particular match?
That's what I think you should be doing. It's your yellow hybrid opponents is just blitzing them, because the only interaction they can do post that is like they play a removal card or they like recover, right?
Yeah.
But then they're almost always passing turn with like a teamer or something. Like it's very slow burn, and if you put the pressure on them, then you're forcing either removal or you're forcing recovery, but not both.
Yeah, because in the first game, I went super hard, and a lot of my guys lived security because I checked into tamers or like boosters or stuff like that. And then I put him on 3 memory, and he could either wipe the board or heal a little bit. But because I had so many tamers and a rookie coming out, he had to pick which ones he needed to do. And either of those options were just bad for him because I could kill him either way. He would have to wipe the board and heal. That's how I won the first game. And unfortunately, in round 8, my opponent did in fact win his game. The other undefeated player did in fact win his game. And it was none other than Cryptik, who is a very decorated player in Oceanics. He actually won our nationals for day 1, and then got beaten out in top 16 in day 2. It was kind of funny. So yeah, very decorated player, multiple tops in several events. Hasn't had an Ultimate Cup win, but did in fact get this one because he did beat me out. Just had the right cards in the right time. And if you want to see the match for this one, I'll have it up tomorrow, where you can see me get my butt whooped. But in the end, I was very satisfied with the deck, with how my deck turned out, and my overall plays in general. I have a lot to thank for Izzy for that, for getting me ready for this tournament.
Yeah, no problem. I always love seeing my students improve, and when you guys do well, I feel like I do well. So it's a mutual feeling, and just being able to stay up that night for myself. It was daytime for you, and just see your progress as you go and tell me how your matches were going, really made it worth it.
So yeah, third place losing into champ. Would have got second place if my tiebreakers were a little bit better, but I can't control that. Also quite happy with whoever took second place because they are actually my friend, and we've been sharing a lot of decks with each other over the last couple of months. He was pilling me on it a month ago, and I played it at locals, and I thought it was like a really fun deck, but super gimmicky and super easy to read. Because like some people will see it, it's like, oh, super gimmicky, but like, yeah, if you are a master pilot of it, then you just exploit that. Yeah, this deck, honestly, I think it was the best deck to take to this tournament. It obviously clearly did very well, even if the pilot also very well. The deck is also a beast of its own. It should have had a really good matchup against Red Hybrid, but you'll see it in the video just how I had control over the end product of that match. It's unfortunate that this is the end of BT8 because I would love to get more wins for this deck, but we are just around the corner of EX2 in Oceania and BT9 a week later for pre-release. So this deck will see a lot of changes in BT9, but most likely we'll have to step aside for a lot of other decks that will contend with hybrids, hopefully, considering how prevalent hybrids have been in the last so many months. It'd be good to have a bit of a change.
Yep.
And we'll wrap that one up. I'll see you guys next time. I'll catch you tomorrow for the final round of the Ultimate Cup, where you can see that just how it turns out. And catch you next time.
Peace.